consumers are only going to do one or two purchases. Like, you get investors who do a lot, but they're going to do one purchase maybe every 10 years or maybe longer. So they're not going to have a ton of experience or know the difference. But exactly. You as agents get to see it in person regularly. And so you literally know the difference between, so they'll go, oh, this credit union's giving me this amazing rate. And they have a horrible reputation. They close in 45 days if they don't blow up the deal. Title companies literally ban them. They won't work with them. So you'll go like, well, why don't you work with that credit union? Oh, because we've used them before. So you as a professional, it seems like you're steering when you go, hey, call Eric, but you've seen what I've done. And I tell my agents all the time, is like, do a loan with me so you can literally your own loan with me. Not only are you going to save your money, but you're going to see them not full of it. You're going to see the experience. You're going to see what the doc requests are.
Welcome to the Creating Wealth Podcast, where Kyle Curtin takes you on an extraordinary journey alongside renowned multifamily real estate experts from every corner of the United States. We teach you how to harness the power of real estate investing and witness the transformation of your wealth building strategy. Let's create wealth together.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 177 of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Today, we get the great pleasure of chatting with Eric Katsikas. Eric is a close friend of mine who is also a spectacular mortgage broker with Edge Home Finance that I send everybody to. Super excited to have him on here today. What's going on, Eric? How we doing, buddy?
It's good, Kyle. Nice to get on here, and yeah, everything's good, man. Been very, very busy. Life is good.
Fuck yeah, man. Hell yeah. I love it. So, like I mentioned earlier,
we could have done cigars on this thing.
Ooh, you're right, dude. I have actually done one of those. Johnny DeVito, if you're out there and listening to this, we're going to link up again, man. I did that once. Live podcasts are a shit ton of fun, man. So yeah. we can always do another one.
Deal.
That's a good idea. But anyway, so yeah, dude. Super excited to kind of jump into your story. Honestly, dude, I don't know if I know too much of your story, to be honest. So yeah, if you want to jump in, we're all of the above. Still do it to this day, but that's a side question thing. But anyway, yeah, wherever you want to jump in, dude, how you got into the industry, where you grew up, your third grade t-ball, not t-ball, but baseball team. Whatever you want to do, man.
Who was my first grade teacher? She really changed my life. Honestly, I'm a pretty boring person. I worked at the nuclear power plant for about 14 years, and it was a great job, structured, good pay, good benefits. But there really wasn't any growth there. My family has had, a few family members have been landlords, and I became a carpenter when I was 18. And when I did that, I started reading on real estate. I read the Millionaire Real Estate Investor, the big blue one, back in 2004-ish. And then I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that really kind of changed my brain. I feel like it flipped a switch, the understanding how the rat race works and passive income and cash flow. And essentially it became my goal, my mission to have, because I come from being very poor. My dad died when I was 12 from cancer. My mom had a minimum wage job. So we really didn't have anything. I just assumed I was always going to be a renter. When I kind of learned about real estate and how I could use it to kind of just cover my base needs and then go out and earn luxuries, so have your minimum needs covered, get out of the rat race. So I was kind of obsessed with that. Focused on having good credit. Went out and got a 4-unit in Exeter. And it's been really good for me. It pays for most of my base bills, and my biggest regret is just that I only got one. COVID, I should have taken advantage. A lot of us should have, but yeah, it's been really good. So that's how I kind of got started in real estate, was just becoming a landlord. Spent the last 14 years of that. Got my own primary residence, and then about 4 years ago, I started getting into to mortgages. During COVID, one of my lenders, really great guy, Paul, he invited me to join his team, and I was like, what, that sounds great. Went and got licensed. Everything went really well, and it just kind of worked, man. I just felt really good about it. my nuclear background, I was just so used to digging into procedures and like guidelines. And if there's anything in the nuclear industry you don't know how to do, you just open a procedure and it'll walk you through like step by step what to do. So it was kind of second nature to just look into everything.
That's super cool, man. You know what's funny, dude? Like, I thought you were joking for a split second about like the nuclear stuff. Like, that's badass. Like, I fully thought you were gonna be like, oh yeah, like I was like doing this like super crazy shit and like, you know. But
well, it was so scary, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. But everything in the nuclear industry, though, no matter what job you have, whether you're a laborer, maintenance, or your operators, everybody is all procedurally driven, and there were so many things that you could get immediately fired for. They had level 1 infractions where you could just be gone like that. You make one mistake and your career's over. And so it makes you be really, really cautious. And I think I take loans very seriously like that, where it's like, you know, before I might lose my job, but now someone might lose their house. And to me, that's more important. I can get another job. They can get another house, sure. But I take it very seriously, especially when you're getting down the line. I mean, I just had a family out in Arkansas where as we were approaching the final, they're like, hey, we got to do a 6-hour drive for this thing to go to the closing. They're relocating and everything. And there's a lot on the line there. You got to get the clear to close, get the package out, make sure everything's going to close on time, go to record. So there's a lot of weight on our shoulders that I don't know if a lot of the general public really appreciates, because you got millions of dollars on the line, people's lives, not to mention all their sunk costs, their earnest money deposit. Sometimes you might have a $50,000, $100,000 earnest money deposit that they could lose if you make a mistake.
Exactly, man. No, you're 100% right. And it's funny you talk about that, because I was talking to a friend who's another agent about this recently. I'm like, it's actually like really crazy, like the amount of power. I mean, even like, you know, as an agent in the landlord shoes, as well as, you know, in the lender shoes as well, it's like actually like insane. And I feel like most people don't necessarily comprehend like how much power there is there, and like the ability to like to help and serve, or if things don't go that well, like to ruin, you know, and hopefully, you know, everybody stays away from all that. But yeah, man, it's freaking crazy. You know, it's we change lives, man. And, you know, it's there's a lot that goes into it. And I do think that's incredibly fascinating, man, going from a very you know, standard operating procedure driven type of role into a different one in a whole nother industry, but with the same principle, and how it's like there's a lot of like very synergistic like correlations between those to just like snap into and be like, all right, like fuck yeah, like let's do it. You know, I think
a lot of corporate speak over there where like we had this thing called STAR, stop, think, act, review, and it's like on your card, around your badge, around your like everything you have to do, you have to star your work, stop, think, act, review. And it sounds stupid, but it's very real. It's like measure twice, cut once. It's the same idea. Just before you do something that could impact a life, stop and think about it for just a second. Just don't burst through that door. Wait a second, stop, think about it. And I think that kind of cautious mentality of, you know, when you're in a nuclear plant, you know, there's the consequences are pretty severe. You know? So and I really liked the people there. The job was kind of boring. There was no upward trajectory for the most part. It's very linear corporate ladder. And so when I got to leave, it was really exciting because the sky's the limit here. I get to run my own business and just kind of you have to go hunt every day. You have to go find clients and generate relationships and meet people like you. So it allowed me to use all the, I'm trying to think of what it is, but like all the motivation that I had buried in me, like to let me use it, you know?
Yeah, I dig it, man. I absolutely dig it. And I realize now why the Kool-Aid man probably isn't allowed to work in a nuclear power plant. But anyway. Anyway. But anyway. Yeah, I love that, man. That's super freaking cool. Tell us, like, as soon as you, I guess, you know, came about, you know, becoming a lender for the first time, like, how did that go, I guess, in like the initial first stages of like, you know, starting to get your feet under you and starting to like pick up some clients and that kind of thing? And I guess what was kind of like going through your head early on? Like, did you like fall in love with it like instantly, or like was there kind of like a Like you just knew, like, fuck yeah, dude, like let's do it. Like I love this.
I knew it was what I liked. I hate to say it, but as a consumer, I was always so disappointed by the conversations I'd have with loan officers. And, I'd be like, I didn't know how much they made, but I know they drove nice cars and they had nice things. I'm like, they have to be doing pretty well, but I'm not impressed. Like I really wasn't. And so I hate to say that, but other than like the few people in my life that were like, Paul that brought me in, he's an amazing dude. We're still friends to this day. But when I would go out there, like before I met Paul, that was actually one of the reasons I wanted to get in, because I was like, this guy actually does know what he's talking about. And I had another lender that kind of screwed up one of my loans, and it cost me to lose a house. So I was under contract for a renovation loan, and they got it all messed up. It ended up denying me for the loan maybe, a few days before closing. And I talked to Paul, and he's like, I could have closed that thing for you. And he talked to me how he could have done it, what he would have done differently. And then he ended up getting me my house that I have now. And we became friends from that. And I realized, the difference. So to me, and this is something that I love about Candor, something I love about you and people like you, is that there are so many agents out here who really shouldn't be. And there are so many loan officers that really shouldn't be. And the consequences are severe. And I've been in offices where I know other loan officers don't know anything. They're just out there selling. They're just out there selling. And, how can I get in front of somebody who wants to buy a house? And, the team will figure it out. But I think as boots on the ground, you should know exactly what you're doing. You should know all the ins and outs. I can process a loan front to back. I oftentimes do. And when you go out there just to try to find a client, not to try to solve a problem or, put the pieces together, that's when problems go down the line. You go, hey, why didn't we know about this sooner? Well, you didn't know to ask it. So those are some of the things. But with people like you spend a lot of time learning. You actually are physically an investor. You actually are you're not just saying, hey, you can do these remote things. You're doing those things. So when you talk to a client, it's from experience, the systems you're building and all that stuff. So I think there's not enough people that own their craft in this business.
I completely agree with you, man. I think there's so much more value that goes in, especially when the people in your team are investors themselves. I feel like it just goes so much further beyond exactly to your point, man. Like there's the theory of like, oh yeah, like you could go buy a 3, 4, 10 unit. Like, you could like just go do it. But like, that's the end of pretty much the end of the conversation. Or like, hey, dude, like you got to watch out for this type of thing. Like I've seen this happen before. Like it's happened to me, happened to a friend of mine. Like you got to watch out for this type of shit. And like, here's a couple of things you can do to go against it. Like it's especially for, dude, like we deal with them all the time. Or, every day. Like some of these folks that are jumping into the industry for the first time, like looking to buy that first 2 to 4 unit building. It's scary as fuck. We've both been there, man, on that end. You know what I mean? It's like, I was shitting at the closing table at freaking Doug's office when I closed Lemonster. I'm like, what the hell did I just get myself into? So like, we've already fortunately gone through that type of thing. And to be able to like give that extra value and extra advice for our clients. I mean, not just from a tactical perspective of like, oh, like, here's how to get contacts in the area. Here's how to deal with this, like, if you buy the 5-gallon can of paint instead of a bunch of ones, like you'll save money, like all that, like stupid shit, but like, in addition to like the mental part of it, of like getting them through it and be like, nope, like you're fine. Like everything's completely cool. We're handling this. Like everything's great. Like you don't have to worry about a thing.
I think a big thing is people over on paper, trying to paper a deal and just overestimating, like using max rental rates and stuff like that. And you got to be careful when you're like, from experience, I always love to be under market. One is I don't like to price gouge, but on top of that, you also will have your pick of more tenants. So if you're trying to get max market, you're going to get the client that's willing to overpay for that unit, or at least pay max. Now, one, they may just be very needy because they're paying for a service and they should be getting value for that service. So there's going to be more service calls, most likely. You may have people that you're willing to take lower credit because they're willing to pay more money. So you're going to get max value, but you're going to go lower tier of client who may not make the rent at all, or they may damage the property. You have to get past your bleeding heart, which is really terrible to say. But like I've been burned because I just tried to do the right thing and help somebody out, a young couple. Yeah, no problem. I'll let you guys both have a couple jobs each and you're working really hard. Let me help you. I didn't do any research with their past landlords, which again, this is an experience thing. I never trust a landlord. If you got a bad tenant and someone calls you and says, hey, they're thinking about my apartment, what do you think? Oh, they're the best. Never miss a payment. Like, I think they have 800 credit scores. I've never heard of Pete.
Exactly.
Hey, actually, I don't want you to take my tenant away from me. They're so great. Please don't do this. No, of course. So I take it with a grain of salt what someone's going to say. You really want to go back to landlords if you want to do the right thing. Go back to landlords. One that's not on the hook for them leaving. So I had one that you'll vibe with this. So I let them in. First day, my wife calls me when I'm at work, and she goes, honey, there's a skunk in the basement. There's a skunk in the basement, freaking out, and she's losing her mind. The tenant's just moved in. I'm like, what luck is that, right? And it turned out that it was a ferret. She just saw a white stripe, not the band, like running across the basement floor, like scampering. And so she freaked out, thought a skunk was down there. And so they had unauthorized pets. I allow pets, but they didn't even tell me they had any. And then from there, it got worse, which is that he just up and decided to quit his job one day. He just like, we went on a cruise and we come home and they just knocked on our door and they were like, hey, we're moving out this weekend. He quit his job a couple weeks ago or a month ago. He hasn't been able to find another one. I was thinking to myself, quit a job without knowing where your next job is. Getting fired is one thing, but have you ever just been like, adios, I'll figure this thing out? I'm like, I got bills to pay.
He let the impulse win, man.
Yeah, so he did.
He's like, fuck this, I'm done.
But I tell people all the time, best thing someone can do for me is move out. Just go.
Exactly.
Because I'd much rather deal with that rather than the eviction process, non-payment, things like that. But I go into that apartment, destroyed. Like the animals tore up the carpets, paint everywhere. Like, and I don't just mean that it was painted everywhere. There was paint everywhere. Neon colors all over the walls. Like they were probably getting high in there. And then there was paint splashed all over like the floors and the appliances. I replaced appliances, like scraping it off. Now I've got no paint on it. It was a nightmare, man. I took 3 coats of like paint plus primer stuff, the good stuff, to get it through. Neon orange. They took in the bathroom, they took sponge neon green, painting on all the walls and splashing everywhere, hitting the trim. So now I have to hit the trim and the walls. Nightmare. Yeah, that was fun. So you have to be really careful about who you let in, and you have to make sure you do your due diligence because one bad tenant can really hurt you.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, 100%. And I mean, even like, to I guess cap off like the last part of the conversation we just had is like, like that kind of stuff, it hits a little harder when it's happened to you. And like, you can pass on that information and be like, hey, like, this is why, you don't do this, or, these are some red flags to consider. I had one, not nearly freaking as bad by any way, shape, or form. Knock on wood, at least. But in Leominster, it was something small, and this is something that I didn't realize, initially. But now it's something that I share with people when they're asking about leasing or whatever, because it happened to me. I had the most recent couple that leased one of my units probably like 6 months ago, probably less than that actually. They were a super nice couple, man. Look immaculate on paper, right? Everything freaking awesome. I had them by, we're chatting each other's ears off, for, an hour or something like that. And they were firing like a million flipping questions at me. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, like you want to, like, I'm an open book, I'm not hiding anything. Like, you want to know what you want to know. Like I get it. Like I'm here to answer whatever. And if you like it, great. If not, cool. But so everything was all good. Right. And they ended up leasing the unit. Dude, for the first freaking like month, Eric, like this guy was texting me more than like my friends do. Just like paragraphs, like straight novels, dude. And like there was like a million flipping things that like
it's a bubble. Like, calm down there.
Yeah. And it's like, he was like, just, it was more him than her, I guess. But I don't know, man. Like so something basically, like, long story short, the lesson that kind of came about is like keep in mind something like that, guys. Obviously, we're human. Like, we have questions about, things that we're doing before we do it. At least you should. If not, great. But like, something to watch out for is like, if a potential resident has like a bajillion freaking questions, like an excessive crazy ass amount of questions that they're just peppering you with, I'd consider some of the other options. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying like don't answer their questions and like hide things from them by any means, but like if they're like just peppering you, that's only the beginning. So I'm just letting you know.
The important thing that you're getting at, though, is like trust your senses, trust your instinct, because that's one thing that, like, that's what I didn't do with those tenants. Is everything about them was telling me there's something not right here. There's something a little unhealthy here. Like, they both have good jobs that are paying, and I was just looking at the numbers, and I was like, I'm not going to discriminate. Like, they're like, she has 2 jobs. The credit was like 650 or lower or something. I can't remember. I'm just like, but she ran into some hard times and now she's back on her feet, and so is he. And so, I'm going to help these people out. But like, I had to convince myself. If you find yourself convincing yourself to accept somebody, it's probably not a good look. You know what I mean? Yeah. So trust your instincts a little bit there. What I try to do is, and I recommend this to people, is do it open house style. Because one of the things that I did is people didn't take me seriously. I have a very desirable area property, and I'd get a ton of applicants, and I would schedule each one. Like, I'd go, okay, I'll meet you at 6:30. I'll meet you at 6:45. I'll meet you at 7. And I'd like book them back to back and all that. And then I'd be talking to them, and I go, listen, I promise you this thing's going to be gone very soon. So I need a thought, like, I need a decision. I'm not trying to hard sell you, but I don't want you to text me later and say, oh my gosh, I didn't know it was going to be gone. It's gonna go fast. All my units always do. And so they would go, yeah, and they'd leave, and then someone would take it, almost like the next person, and they'd go, oh, I didn't believe you.
Too late now, dog.
they thought I was trying to hard sell them, and I'm just like, no, listen, I promise you, this is a desirable area. The price is right. It's a clean unit. And so what I do now is I do an open house style. And I'll have like 20 people in the parking lot, and we'll just run it through back to back. It creates kind of this urgency, but it also shows them that there are, in fact, people that want this unit. And it gives you the pick of the litter. Because there's so many times I made the mistake of someone making an offer and accepting that offer, and then them either pulling out, or we do the background check and it turns out they've got problems. And now I can't. And I already told everyone, I'm sorry, the unit's already been spoken for. Now I got to go back and go, hey, would you like to come back and see the unit? It's now available again. So I just do it as an open house. I collect all the applications. And then of the people that I like, I then go through them, finish the background check first. And then once that's done, then I notify people that it's been taken.
Yeah, I love that, man. Absolutely. I do something kind of similar, but oh, actually, not really. It's what I've done in the past is like, gone through. I had everybody and their mother send everything through Zillow, and then find like the applications that actually check my box, and then have like one day of like, from like 2 p.m. to like 6 or 5 or something like that, and have people every like half hour or so. And like when I leased to these guys, I had like 6 or 7 parties like that day or whatever, that like all check the box and that kind of thing. So then by the end of the day, I already kind of knew, like, all right, number 1, no. Number 2 was asking me for a Tesla charger and to put it in. No. No. Number 3 was, did not get good gut feelings about. Number 4, pretty fucking okay. You know what I mean? And at least kind of, be able to drop it down to a couple people and that kind of thing.
I think you should try my way, though. I'm telling you, it's
I like it, man. I dig
like
it.
An open house.
Yeah.
And they'll see everybody else that's coming through, and they go, oh my gosh, like, we got to make a decision right now. I can't tell you how many times. And they'll even go, I'll pay you more. And I go, like, the list price is the list price. I've never taken more, but they'll offer that. They'll go, whatever I need to do. Can I, like, where do I sign now? And I always just tell them, listen, we're going to finish this out, but I really appreciate the the emphasis, and I'll strongly consider your want for this place, because you want someone to want to live there, because you don't want turnover, and you want someone who, I also think that them knowing that there's a ton of activity and interest in the unit makes them appreciate it while they're there, and going, I won this out of 30 people, and now I'm going to care about it. And if they just are the only person that they saw as they walk through, I would see the disinterest in their face. And they go, does it come with the curtains? And I go, no fixtures come with it. If the tenants leave it, you can have it, but there's no fixtures. And they go, all right, I'll get back to you. And like I would feel that. But then if you had a full parking lot, there was a totally different vibe. Pressure
I think that.
So I think it helps. But again, I think the psychology of it is that you don't appreciate something unless you knew someone else wanted it.
Yeah. It's one of those weird, like, human psychology, type of elements of, like, that there's like such a strong desire for the product, and like, you start to get like, what's the word?
And nobody believes
primal.
that no one believes the hard sell is real until they actually know that other people are trying to buy. It's like, oh no, we're actually out of inventory. Oh, okay. So you're not lying to me. That's how I treat my loans, is like, I'll tell people, hey, my rates are really great. And it's not magic. It's not like I just got lucky and I chose the right place. It's not at all. It has to do with how I run my business. And so I don't want them to trust me. I go, here, go to rocketmortgage.com/mortgage-rates, go to totalmortgage.com. They post their rates. There's a bunch of different companies, Service Credit Union. There's a bunch of these websites that are going to tell you what their posted rates are. And those are for their perfect borrowers. A lot of times I can get those same rates or even better for a middle 600 credit score, like 680 credit score. I might be beating that rate on that. And the reason for it is because I essentially knew that when I got into this, I'm not being interviewed for a job because I'll get hired because I have clients. I'm bringing the clients to the job. So in sales, you are generating the revenue for the business. They don't exist without you, unless they have, an advertising campaign or storefront that people just know. But if you're a go out and find your clients type of salesperson, I'm interviewing you to find out what I'm getting in exchange for the interest rates that you're going to provide my clients. So the bank that I'm working for, based on their margin, they're going to have to build in their cost and their profit and greed as well. And that's all going to go into my client's interest rate. And so the more of those people that I can cut out of the fold that are not providing value for their input, the better. And I can explain that as, I would write a loan and my branch manager would be making more money than I was on my own loan. And yeah, they would be there if you need help. But once you don't need help, you really don't need that person costing your clients more money.
Yeah.
Right. Then I work out of my home office. I can afford to go rent space, but everything that I do, I have to think about what it's going to cost my client. Not whether I can go do it. I can get storefront right now. I can do all these things, but if I work from home, my mortgage is paid. My client doesn't have to pay that. My internet's already paid. I'm a gamer, so I've already got great internet, right? And then all these things. So the less that I have to pass on to the consumer, the better their rate's going to be. And I work on a cost per loan for my staff. So I don't pay salaries, although I'm actually taking someone on salary soon to help with our capacity, but I pay on a per file basis. So I know exactly where my margins are on every single loan. I know where my profit has to be to make $1. And so it allows me the flexibility of running my business. I can make a conscious decision. Okay, this loan, we can get a better rate for that person because I don't have because I have better margins. I'm not charging 4 to 7%. My broker fee might be 2%. That's typically the broker fee that I charge. I charge more for a reno loan, things like that, but it's going to be a 2% broker fee, and they're charging 4 to 7. And so when I look at my rate sheet and it only has 2% built into it, plus I'm on the wholesale, I don't have warehouse lines, I don't have corporate expenses and all those things. It goes to the client.
Yeah. I think that's incredibly admirable, man. And it's something that is definitely, definitely not a common thing. You know what I mean? And like, it's incredible. I mean, yes, in the lending space, but even like in other areas of the business too, man. It's like, what is actually getting passed on to the client, and like, like behind the scenes, I guess, too, if you will. I mean, sure, like, looking at the HUDs and stuff like that, like whatever. But like, I think it's a really, one of the things that I definitely, think is incredibly admirable of you, man. You know what I mean? And just like being a good dude, you know what I mean? And like making sure people don't get fucked by like some of the other, places and folks out there, that don't give a shit, and, just trying to throw a couple bucks in their pocket and move on. It's,
and I love the people in my network that I get to help, because like I looked into joining BNI groups, and why? So you're going to put me in a group of people that have already been pre-selected by someone else, or, they were willing to pay a fee to join, and now I'm going to try to give them my clients. No, it's merit-based. I am my own BNI group. Like Kyle is in my sphere because I know Kyle kicks ass. I've got my insurance people that I know do an amazing job. Like I get to hand pick my BNI group and make sure that the people who are working in my team meet my same like ethical standards and a value prop. I do, like, on every loan, my assistant reaches out to the client, asks if they want to get a homeowner's insurance quote. And we have 3 different brokers that we go through, and they're all awesome. And we'll get them a quote. We usually do it round robin. If it's more of a difficult property that's going to have a wide ranging insurance, then I will shop it out to all of them. And I'll even tell them, hey, listen, we're doing this for 2 reasons. One, because we're selfish. One, because I want to make sure that I have a quote up front, I have an accurate monthly payment, so you don't come back later and go, hey, you told me my insurance is going to be $100 a month, but it's now like $175 because I go to some expensive person or company, and now my payment's $75 a month higher. You lied to me. So if I go out and get an insurance quote, I now know my monthly payment's accurate. So I'm disclosing an accurate number to the client. I also know that they're responsive, and they're going to get me a binder if there's any changes, RCE or anything. If we need flood coverage, if I need to do anything, they're going to take care of that quickly so that we can close quickly. When I deal with Geico, I have to go to their website, put in all the info, wait 3 days for them to get back to me if there's a change request. It's a nightmare. I call Bubba, I call John, I call Ray, I call Doug. They're going to get it to me right away, right? So those are kind of the things. So like shout out to Doug from Prime Insurance. His team, he's got a big team. They'll take care of you. I've got a couple others that I price out too. And then I have like title people that are like, Doug's a title person. I've got other title people. I know if I need, because I send them a lot of my business, I can trust that they're going to value my business and go, hey, I need a rush on this. So can you make an exception on this, order on a rush, or I need this, or I have one of my companies, they'll close anywhere for me remotely and not charge a remote notary fee. They'll just send Greg, and he'll go all through New Hampshire, Massachusetts. Well, he can't do Mass, he's not an attorney, but he'll do all of New Hampshire. And so I've built this team of people who will go to the ends of the earth for my clients.
Yeah. And that's the key, man. Especially even having the trust, that like everybody's, playing their game and doing their thing and kicking ass, and just knowing that it's there. But also, to streamline the process too. And let me tell you something, dude, like a little plug for Eric here, guys. Like before you, man, like I was so used to just like a normal, 45-day close. Everything takes forever in a fucking day. And it's just how it is. You're going to spend the next month and a half, worrying about if this thing's going to fucking close or not. But when you have someone on your team, like Eric Katsikas, there's some crazy shit that not only, helps you if you're, an agent or, investor, whatever, but it something that you can pass on to clients as well, which helps them in the long run in terms of, being competitive and being able to show, listing agents or, other private sellers or whatever, hey, this is the kind of financing that we have. It's badass. They don't fuck around. And it's something that definitely plays a big role, especially when the ecosystem is at a lot more of a competitive standpoint. It's hey, we get this crazy, pre-approval and everything here. It can close, potentially, a lot faster than 45 days, conventional, this, that, the other. like there's just a lot of things, that really get passed on to the client from a whole different angle, in terms of benefits and that kind of thing. And it makes a huge difference, guys. Holy shit. Like
they don't know, like most consumers are only going to do one or two purchases. Like, you get investors who do a lot, but they're going to do one purchase maybe every 10 years or maybe longer. So they're not going to have a ton of experience or know the difference, but exactly. You as agents get to see it in person regularly. And so you literally know the difference between, so they'll go, oh, this credit union's giving me this amazing rate. And they have a horrible reputation. They close in 45 days if they don't blow up the deal. Title companies literally ban them. They won't work with them. So you'll go like, well, why don't you work with that credit union? Oh, because we've used them before and we won't. So you, like, as a professional, it seems like you're steering when you go, hey, call Eric, but you've seen what I've done. And I tell my agents all the time, is like, do a loan with me so you can literally, like, your own loan with me. Not only are you going to save your money, but you're going to see them not full of it. You're going to see the experience. You're going to see what the doc requests are. On your loan, we had you locked, disclosed, and then submitted to underwriting on June 17th. We had you approved on June 18th at 10:48 a.m. So we submitted you at midnight. So I sent it in that night, and then it was approved the next morning at 11 a.m. 10:48.
Guys,
that's fast.
Guys, this is as real as it gets. That's for the 4-family in Athol I just bought. Like, this looks like legit. Like, Eric's a fucking animal.
3.5 business hours, right?
Eric is a beast.
So we got that, and then we got your clear to close on July 5th, which is 2 weeks ish. But you also have to remember that it was a 4-unit. We had to wait for the appraisal. Title wasn't a rush. We didn't do a rush order, and so we had you. I remember we had like 5 conditions. We did a clean underwrite. You did a great job of getting everything we asked for, and that's a huge part of it. Like I can close a loan in literally 8 days, which is. For those who don't know, it's really fast, but I need the client to participate, right? And then I also need to be able to get an appraiser in a speedy time. Title has to be quick, but I can also close in 45 days if it's a nightmare. If I've had clients who are like, I'm not giving you that. You don't need that. I'm like, okay, well, you don't need $500,000.
Exactly. So, it's that easy.
Like I don't, and they make it seem like I just up and decided what I was going to ask for them. Like, hey, today let's, I want you to put on pink nail polish and drive a Beamer and drop off a loan. Like, I didn't just like randomly come up with something. Like, no, I need 2 months bank statements, not transaction histories. I need an actual bank statement because it's FHA and they require it. Okay, I can do 1 month if it's conventional. I can't take a VOD on a Fannie, Freddie, FHA. Like, I didn't just make it up. So like as the middleman, I'm always just like, I get it that there are loan officers who I'm a big advocate for asking for less. A lot of times I'll tell them, hey, look, if you have enough money in savings, you don't even need to show me your checking account. I don't care how much money you spend at Starbucks. We'll deal with that later. But if you show me you have enough money in savings, I don't need to see your checking or any of that other stuff now, because I'm going to protect their privacy. And then when we get there, you're going to have to provide your most recent 1 or 2 months, depending on the loan product. But for now, keep your privacy, right? And I'm a big advocate for less. Like I try to teach loan officers this. Unless you have, so one thing that happens is when you exceed 45 debt to income ratio, 45% of your gross monthly earnings as debts, then you'll have a price bump in private mortgage insurance. So if you exceed 45 on a conventional loan, FHA, there's no rate movement. Then you'll have a problem. So as long as I stay under 45% debt to income ratio, I'm going to use less of the client's income. So if they have commission, bonus, any of those things, if I get by on just their base income, I'm going to just use that. That way I don't have to do a 2-year average of commission and bonus, not because I don't want to do the labor, but because the underwriting is going to be easier. I'm not going to have to ask for the client to get me an HR rep so I can get a VOE. I'm not going to have to ask for year-end pay stubs for the past 2 years. I'm asking for less, and that is more, right? Less is more. So when you don't need it, don't over ask, because one of the things that clients complain about is they just kept asking and asking for more and more. So I always try to streamline the bare minimum that we need that doesn't affect your pricing. We're going to do that.
Yeah. And it makes a huge difference. I mean, for everybody across the board too, especially if you reach out to the agent and be like, hey, I tried reaching out to these guys for their shit and they haven't done it. And it's like how many times do you have to poke them between the agent, the lender, freaking, to be like, hey, dude, you got to send them those bank statements. sooner than later would be fantastic. Thank you very much.
That is something that drives me absolutely insane. It's not necessarily clients not sending me docs. It does. But what drives me crazy is when a client will reach out to my agent and go, Eric hasn't been very responsive. I'm like, did I miss a call? And I'm like looking for my call. I'm like searching their name. I don't see missed calls. Here's our history. Last time we talked was like on Wednesday, and we talked for 27 minutes. And I'm like, I didn't miss a call. Like, what's going on? And they'll just go like, they'll say something to a realtor that I have documented proof because it's true. And
exactly.
I'll say to you, Kyle, is like, they go, oh yeah, I called and he never picks up. I was like, does that sound like me?
You're full of it. Not at all.
Like have you ever called me and me not like either pick up or call you right back? And so that drives me crazy. So sometimes clients will just say, I don't know if it's just they just don't want to look like it's their fault. Like, oh, I haven't gotten him his stuff yet. But they'll go, yeah, Eric, it's really hard to get a hold of. Really?
Which Eric are we talking about here? Clearly not the same guy.
It does happen though. So, but I always love receipts. Like, I'll just reach out to an agent. I'll be like, hey, we've made a request 4 different times for documents. Like, I want to see this thing to the finish line. Just want to let you know that if they don't start giving us documents, we're not going to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, man. Oh, holy crap, Eric. We could keep talking for freaking hours and hours, man. But I wanted to thank you so much for coming on here, man. That was a blast. We're on like social media and stuff. Can you be found, brother?
You can find me on Facebook. My name, you can just search my name, Eric Katsikas. Eric Knows Loans, Eric Katsikas. You'll find Facebook, Instagram. I'm pretty much almost only Facebook because I'm old. But it's also just where my sphere has been kind of gathered. I do Instagram, LinkedIn. I don't do any TikTok or YouTube. But you can just find me. If you Google me, you'll find me.
Hell yeah, man. Guys, you definitely want to check out Eric's Facebook too. I'm not going to tell you why, but you'll like it.
That's really the biggest thing. If they know you, or if anyone's watching this podcast, they probably have you on Facebook, and they probably already know my social media. So I don't think we're converting anybody new to that.
It's all good, guys. Definitely reach out to Eric. He's freaking amazing, and thank you so much for coming on here, brother. This was a blast.
My pleasure, man. Let's do it again.
Absolutely.
All right, I gotta get a soccer.
All righty, brother. I'll see you later. Bye.
That's a wrap for today's episode. We want to thank you for being a valued listener of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Make sure to visit www.creatingwealth.com to connect with us. Dive into our ever-expanding library of informative blogs and explore a wide range of additional valuable resources. Stay tuned for our next episode as we continue to create wealth together.